What if your home was burned to the ground, and your loved ones vanished? What if the world knew, but chose to look away? This is the reality for millions in Sudan. For years, Sudan has been trapped in a relentless cycle of war and suffering. Civilians are caught in crossfire, left with unbearable loss and grief. Thousands have died. Women have been violated. Children left orphaned. Entire communities erased from existence, yet the world remains silent. While global attention shifts to other crises, Sudan's plight continues unchecked. Here, starvation is a weapon, markets destroyed, aid blocked. Families flee their homes as airstrikes reduce neighborhoods to rubble. Those escaping the bombing find themselves in makeshift camps, living on scraps. Aisha lost her husband and now fights for survival in a refugee camp. We heard screams and gunfire. I ran with my children, she recalls. Her heart heavy as her kids lose their spark. Omar, just 14, witnessed the unspeakable. They shot my father and mother. I fled alone, he says, scavenging for food. These are not just stories, they are cries for help echoing through despair. Women endure unimaginable horrors, rape becomes a tool of war. Hanan shares her pain, they dragged me into a hut. I screamed for help. Survivors live in silence, haunted by trauma and rejected by society. Zara watched helplessly as armed men took her daughters away from her. We haven't seen them since, she whispers, tears streaming down her face. Children once full of laughter now sit motionless in camps, hollow-eyed. Orphaned and alone, they wander streets filled with debris and death. The future seems bleak, education is non-existent. Hope fades away. Some are even recruited into armed groups, losing their innocence forever. Despite the overwhelming suffering, Sudan remains invisible to the world. Major news outlets ignore this war, political leaders turn a blind eye. International aid arrives sporadically while civilians die unnoticed. There are no viral hashtags for Sudan, the silence is deafening. No urgent UN resolutions or humanitarian efforts match the devastation here. The world has decided that Sudan is not worth saving, they say sadly. Civilians suffer behind closed doors while promises of aid fade away. Refugees fleeing find hostility instead of sanctuary at closed borders. We walked for 5 days only to be turned away at the border, Adam recalls. He speaks of despair and desperation faced by those seeking safety. This crisis is not temporary, it's a slow genocide unfolding silently. If we ignore this suffering, killings and rapes will continue unchecked. Will history remember these atrocities or let Sudan fade into obscurity? If you hear this message, don't let Sudan be forgotten. Speak up. Hashtag Sudan needs to be trending. We must demand action now more than ever. The world must listen, otherwise, Sudan risks disappearing completely. Sudan is dying in silence, they say. We can't let this happen.